Thank you for joining us on yet another edition of Tech Trends, the show that keeps you abreast of all that happens in the world of technology. Power is one necessity that has turned a big luxury in most part of Africa. I dare not overemphasize this point, but a more interesting question would be, what role can technology play in this sector? Don't miss the interview segment coming up later. By now, you would have guessed that I'm big on internet security, so I'll share more tips to help you stay secured online. My name is Chukwemeka Agbata, and welcome to Tech Trends.
Panelists at the Oracle Corporation Roundtable in Lagos discuss ways by which the incoming administration, both at the state and federal government levels, must adopt the use of information communication technology to save the economy from excessive dependence on gas and oil. Then they discuss ways on how the country will accomplish the best in the IT industry with essential skill sets, especially with both the public and private sector working together to ensure youths in the society are fitted out with necessary skills. The World Economic Forum 2014 revealed that the progress made by 148 economies was as a result of leveraging on ICTs, which has increased productivity, economic growth, and the number of quality jobs. This is in line with the recent survey by the CBI that revealed that almost 40% of companies are deploying their efforts to find and recruit workers with the advanced technical science, technology, engineering, and math skills. Microsoft Corporation is making it easier for apps written for rival Google Inc.'s Android and Apple Inc.'s iOS systems to work on Windows phones in a bid to attract users to its unpopular mobile devices.
Now the third technology I am announcing today will enable developers to reuse nearly all of the Java and C++ code from an Android phone app to create apps for phones running Windows 10.
According to the technology giant, it aims to empower its customers to achieve more.
It is our mission to empower every person and organization on the planet to achieve more. Windows 10 represents a new generation of Windows built for an era of more personal computing, from Raspberry Pi to the holographic computer, where the mobility of the experience is what matters, not the mobility of the device.
The move marks a radical shift in strategy for the world's biggest software company, which still dominates the personal computer market, but has failed to get any real traction on tablets and phones, partly because of a lack of apps. Microsoft has found itself in a circular trap, as many developers will not build apps for Windows phones, which have few users, and few people want the phones which have fewer apps than Android or Apple phones. Getting apps built for Android and iOS onto its phones and tablets could be a shortcut to breaking out of that trap. The apps will technically be Windows apps and available only through Microsoft's online app store. The apps would automatically use Microsoft services such as Bing Maps rather than Google services, as an app would on an Android phone. That is a crucial distinction because Google gets revenue from ads on services rather than from the Android system itself. Microsoft also announced a surprise move to make it easier for iOS developers to make Windows apps, saying that Microsoft developers' software will be compatible with Objective-C, the main programming language used by Apple. Google declined to comment. Apple did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Microsoft, which bought Nokia's handset business last year, has only 3% of the global smartphone market. By contrast, Android phones led by Samsung control 81% of the market and Apple 15%, according to Strategy Analytics. Microsoft is scheduled to release its new Windows 10 operating system this summer, which for the first time will run across PCs, tablets, and phones. Microsoft is aiming for 1 billion devices running Windows 10 in 2 to 3 years' time. Apple beat Wall Street's revenue and profit forecast on Monday, April 27, as it sold more iPhones in China than the United States for the first time, but the company gave no sales figures for its new Apple Watch. Apple's iPhone sales in China soared, increasing its revenue in the country by 71% to $16.8 billion, although that was helped by gift buying for Chinese New Year.
The first time in several quarters, Mac sales are now higher than the iPad sales. But it's the iPhone that continues to beat all expectations. Look at China, 71% increase. That's just phenomenal. So basically now the Chinese market has become more important than the US market. And to a great extent, the Chinese market is still untapped. It's not a mature business. It's a growth business there.
In a conference call with reporters and investors following the earnings announcement, Chief Executive Tim Cook said that China's expanding middle class is fueling iPhone sales there, which is the bulk of the company's sales. The iPhone 6 was launched last fall in China with a number of carriers.
When they expand their store footprint and they bring out more models, and we're going to see the numbers accelerate even greater. And there are still several parts in Asia, including India, where Apple doesn't yet have any significant penetration. So when we look at Asia broadly and we look at China and India, over the long term, Apple is going to do even bigger numbers in China and India than they're doing in the US.
Apple sold 61.2 million iPhones in the quarter, up 40% from the year-ago quarter, but down from the record-breaking holiday quarter. It sold 12.6 million iPads, down 23% from a year ago. Apple's big screen iPhone 6 and 6 Plus have been popular with customers worldwide, helping the company overtake rival Samsung in global smartphone sales last quarter. The most valuable publicly traded U.S. company raised its quarterly dividend 11% to 52 cents per share and boosted its share repurchase program to $140 billion from $90 billion announced last year. Together, Apple estimated that would mean returning $200 billion to shareholders by the end of March 2017. It ended the quarter with $193.5 billion in cash and marketable securities, up more than $15 billion from the last quarter.
The street's reactions were sort of fluctuated, and in the end of the day, it sort of closed 1% up. And a lot of the investors are saying that Apple is the best investment they've made in recent years, because there were so many questions when Tim Cook became the CEO about whether they'd be able to keep the momentum going, and he has.
Apple gave no sales figures for its recently released Apple Watch, but did say the current quarter was off to an exciting start.
The iWatch is not going to do a lot in the next quarter, for two reasons. One, even though it's selling well for a new product, relatively speaking, the numbers of the iWatch are very small compared to the numbers of the iPhone. Okay. So when your revenues are $60 billion in a quarter, okay, even if you sell 2 million smartwatches at $300 or an average price of $500, okay, it's a drop in the bucket in the short term.
Apple said it expected fiscal third quarter revenue of $46 billion to $48 billion, in line with analysts' average forecast of $47 billion.